Hello, one and all. I'm live, yay. At a random time, 3:52 on Thursday afternoon. Yay me. I didn't specify a time, so that freed up my day, which was just very delightful. And this week I am talking about hobbies and your chakras and how it keeps you and your chakras balanced without even trying. So I don't know if any of you saw my little reel from Monday, but I went through the different chakras that are hobbies, the things that we do. Just on our time off to kill time, to relieve stress, whatever, how they balance our chakras and what chakras they touch. So I will review that really fast with you. And then I want to talk about some of the things I do. And then I have a treat from someone else to talk about. So here we go. So the chakras that our hobbies help balance are our root chakra because it helps us to stay present, right? We're focusing on the thing we're doing at hand. And so whether it is your sewing or your painting or your drawing or your gardening or you're building, whatever it is you do, or even if you're a physical hobby, right? So you're out riding a bicycle, mountain climbing, jumping out of airplanes, whatever it is, you have to focus fully on what you're doing, right? You have to make sure your equipment is all set. So you really have to focus and stay present in the moment. There's none of this letting your mind wander. What hobbies do is they help us stay present. First and foremost, that is just probably their biggest gift. So that in and of itself grounds us, which helps our root chakra. And staying grounded keeps us from running off into our emotions in every different level of our life, getting carried away by our anxieties or our thoughts, or being carried away by other people's emotions. So staying grounded is super helpful. So if you feel yourself struggling with staying grounded, go grab your hobby, right? So go grab whatever it is you're working on, or go work on something for your hobby and see if you don't all of a sudden feel everything just sort of settle down in you. The next chakra that it helps is the sacral chakra. So that's the next one up, and that is our creative outlet. Having a creative outlet is super important, even for people who say, I'm not creative. Yes, you are. Every human being is creative. We all have it in us. And if you don't think you're creative, it just means you haven't found a way to express that. There are a lot of ways to express creativity, and they don't all include paintbrushes and composing music or any, writing poetry. It doesn't have to look like anything. Gets to look like whatever you want it to look like. That's the joy of a hobby. So creativity even more so, whatever works for you. There's a fun Facebook group called the Home for Peculiar Artists, and it's just this fabulous place where people post their creative hobbies, their things that they do, and some of them they're just like, okay, but it's really cool, and I highly suggest that you go and take a look, because if you think that you are not creative because what you have seen in the world makes you think, well, I can't do that or I don't do that, let me tell you what, there's no limitation on creativity. So you get to come up with anything, and maybe that group, the Home for Peculiar Artists, will inspire you to come up with something. Who knows, right? So that's our sacral chakra. The next one is our solar plexus. That is right here, right at the rib cage, basically, and that's our self-esteem. And the way it helps with our self-esteem is when we are focusing on our hobby, working on our hobby, we are honing skills. We improve. You'll notice that when you start doing something, you may be a little sloppy at it, or like, oh my gosh, I don't understand how to do this. But as you continue on, hone your skills, maybe work with other people who do that, or watch videos of people who do that, so you can amplify how you're showing up in that hobby. That makes you feel better, makes you feel more confident. When you feel more confident in one area of your life, that will spill over into other areas of your life. So that's exciting. Yay. And then the last one is the crown chakra. Oh, no, excuse me. I take that back. The next one is the heart chakra. The heart chakra is self-care. So this is a huge thing about self-care. Hobbies are so important because it tells us that where our interests and things that make us like giggle inside, it's worthwhile, right? We're worthwhile to take the time to do those things. So support your heart chakra. Take care of yourself in whatever way that is for you. And, let your hobbies be part of that self-care. And now to the crown chakra. So this is the one we can go it kind of ties into the root chakra in the fact that we're staying so present, but it also can bring us into kind of this meditative state. So it's not a mindlessness, but your mind's wandering. It's your mind is focused on this thing so that the rest of your brain that doesn't need to focus on that thing, whatever part of the brain you're not using, can just sort of, take 5, you know what I'm saying? Can chill. Gives you like a little mini meditation. And it's just a really nice feeling. It's another one of the reasons why it makes us feel so relaxed. So our crown chakra. So it covers our hobbies cover our root, our sacral, our solar, our heart, and our crown. And you know what? Depending on what your hobby is, they might also cover your throat and third eye. So depending on what you do for your hobby, you might be hitting all your chakras. So doing things to balance our chakras, our energy centers that keep us in check, that keep us aligned. And when if they're not aligned, we feel our life is out of balance, right? So that's why we do things like Reiki to help realign our energy. And so if anyone's interested more in learning about the chakras, I can certainly cover that or offer you resources. But give me a shout out if you want me to do some lives on the chakras, and I'm happy to do so. I just received my my Reiki 1 certificate, and I'm going to be going for my Reiki 2 this summer, I think. So I'm very excited about it. So I have a lot of fabulous information that my Reiki teacher gave me, and I can certainly at least educate you on what a chakra is, if you don't have any understanding of that. I also work with that with my clients. I definitely help them understand their chakra systems so that when they do go to Reiki, they get a little more out of it. I digress. Enough about the chakras. Okay, so now I want to share with you some of my hobbies, right? Some of the things that I do. And so one of the things I love to do is cook. I love to cook, and I love to be very creative, and I love to have kind of a chopped basket. I'm all about, I don't know what I got in the house, but I got to get dinner on the table in about 30 minutes, an hour, whatever. What have I got, and how can I turn it into something? So for me, cooking is a creative challenge, and I thoroughly enjoy it. I'll put some music on, and I'll be like, maybe I'll look up a recipe and go, okay, I want it to have this ingredient or have this flavor profile, and I'll look up something that has the basics idea of what I want to make or what I want to taste. And then I go, okay, well, what do I have as far as ingredients? And if I don't have them all, that's okay, because 9 times out of 10, I got something I can substitute and create my own thing. And to me, that is just joyful, because I love to create things and make them my own, right? So that is my true joy. My hobby is to reshape things, and you'll see that as I go down the list and show you some examples of some of the things I've done. You'll see. It's pretty funny. So another thing I do is I do redesigning of clothing and jewelry. Basically what that is taking a piece of clothing and altering it to make it kind of a one-of-a-kind piece. So I am wearing one of my redesigns right now. This was just an old men's shirt that I had. And it had a collar. It was just your typical button-down shirt. And it has some interesting embroidery on the back. So you can see the green embroidery. The whole shirt was that green, right? So that green embroidery, so that mossy green. And it was cool, but I'm like, I'm not going to wear that color. I'm just not. So I dyed it. I dyed it black. And it kind of turned into this mottled, like it wasn't a solid black, but I actually was kind of digging that, because I like anything that's not perfect. If you know me, you know I like the asymmetry in life is the beauty of it. So I like things that are kind of off kilter. So the fact that it sort of dyed unevenly, I was totally cool with. Even better that the synthetic fibers didn't take the dye, because they're synthetic, so they don't. So that popped on the shirt. Totally cool, right? So then what I did was I cut the sleeves off. I cut the collar, the traditional collar off, and I cut the bottom off, right? So I cut it so it was like a jacket, because this had a shirt tail hem. And then I had these patches from one of my favorite fun clothing lines. They do t-shirts and patches called Corrupt Label with a K. And they were out of California, but they are now in Providence, and they are actually quite dear friends of mine. So I've got their patches. And so I took their patches. And so this is one, right? I took this patch and I sewed it on with some cool stitching, just with my sewing machine, just popped it on. And then I had another one of these patches and I cut it out. So I cut out the top of the bottle shape and sewed it on. And then I took some of the words and I sewed them on my collar here. And so I made it a little different. And now it's just kind of a fun, sometimes I use it as a jacket, sometimes as a shirt, and it's totally one of a kind. Another project that I did, this camera thing. I'm so glad I'm not a weather person. This was a dress I got at Seavers. It's a little Gap strapless dress, super cute. I think I got $10, something like that. And it was fine, but boring as all get out, and I don't do boring. And I wanted to try painting on fabric. So I had done a little swatch, so I painted on it. And then I was like, well, that's fine, but it's not interesting enough. It needs more texture. So I said, oh, I'm going to embroider, but I don't know how to embroider. And my sister said, well, I have some embroidery stuff I'm not using. I'll send it up to you to go play with. So that was so much fun. So now I was like, okay. So I looked up how to do a few knots, and then I'm like, okay, I can do this, right? Then I started embroidering, and I turned it into like a sunflower and the sun and the rays, and then I would just, as I go, I just sort of go, you know what it needs? It needs something here, it needs something there, just like how I cook. It needs a little of this, it needs a little of that. And so I redesigned. Another redesign I did, this, you can see it really well, but this is a dress that is made up of 3 different scarves. So I was sorting through a pile of scarves that my dear sister-in-law had given me. And I was like, I'm not going to keep them all. So I was sorting through them. And I was like, as I was sorting through, I'm like, these I'm going to wear just as is. But these are interesting and I don't want to just get rid of them. So I started putting them on the table and I combined them. And next thing you know, I was piecing it together. And I'm like, I turned it into a dress. I've actually worn this dress. I wore it to my cousin's wedding. And I wore it to a networking event. I've had such fun. So I love wearing one-of-a-kind pieces. Jewelry, I'll take jewelry and change it up if it's not quite for me. So this right here is 2 pairs of earrings that I took. And I turned it into 1 pair because it was just those 2 stones. 1 pair was just those 2 stones. And those weren't impressive enough. I like an earring that you can see in my hair because I have crazy wild hair. It's all different lengths at any given time. Sometimes it's longer, sometimes it's shorter. I want to be able to see my earrings. So I took the 2 pairs of earrings. This was just, they were just little brass things. And I was like, there's nothing good there. But again, instead of just getting rid of them, I'm like, oh, I keep these pieces and then I combine them. So the redesigning, the cooking, I also paint walls. My walls, I like to change the paint in my house. I like to change things up. And I also like to take fun little pieces of furniture, strip it down and redesign them as well. So as you can see, my hobbies are clearly almost 100% in this take something and turn it into something else, seeing the possibilities. So that's where I love to spend my time with my hobbies. Oh, hi, Hollis. Hollis, very talented painter. If any of you know Hollis Mahala, she is a divine painter. And if you don't, look her up, look for her name in the comments and check out her work. She is an amazing local artist here in the Rhode Island area. And I adore her. So I had reached out to a friend of mine, very dear friend, who we kind of raised our babies together, right? She was one of my mom friends. And she is a scrapbooker. And I said, hey, would you join me on the live? And she said, I would love to join you on the live, Galen, but my life does not allow for that, unfortunately. She is taking care of her mother who has Alzheimer's. And so I asked her to write down a few things that the scrapbooking does for her life and balances her out, because her life is she is a caretaker. So that's quite impressive. And so I wanted to share this with you. And then in the comments, I'm going to share her creative memories, because she's a scrapbook rep for creative memories. I will share her page so you can join her page if you're scrapbookers or if you're interested in looking into scrapbooking. I will share that in the comments, and hopefully Laura will pop on and maybe throw in some what's going on with creative memories or whatever. So here we go. I want to read this letter from my friend Laura. So she says, what hobbies bring to me are a sense of calming and peace and relaxation. My hobbies balance me and my life in different ways with different hobbies for different situations. In this phase of my life, I take care of my mother who has Alzheimer's and dementia. All by myself. It's a toll on the body and mind. She never stops talking. Her mind is deteriorating and her mind is on repeat all day long. It is frustrating and hard to handle and see her this way. All she wants me to do is sit with her and watch TV, but my brain needs to keep busy. I've tried many things while sitting with her, and the one thing that she allows me to do is crochet, my new hobby. I believe she is fine with it because this is what she's used to do, but no longer can remember how. So right there, I think that is, she has taken a situation like where, so she's limited in the time that she has and the things that she can do because she's very demanding caretaking duties. And so she has found something that she can do that occupies her mind, right? So it gives her that sort of meditative state, but it's still allowing her to be present. So that is that's quite amazing. So it's definitely helping all of her root chakra and her heart chakra and her crown chakra right there. And she said, this hobby allows me to be calm with her while her mind is stuck. She says, I breathe through each stitch and my heart rate goes down, and she enjoys watching. So actually, this hobby is helping her mother as well, because it is triggering something in her mother that her mother used to do and love. And so in a way, it is offering that meditative state to her mom and supporting her mom's heart chakra as well. So this is such a phenomenal example of how beneficial hobbies are. Laura continues on to say, I have only a few hours in the afternoon to myself. I make dinner for us and I make sure I complete one scrapbook page a day. That's quite a goal, right? That's amazing. Scrapbooking is my main hobby and it fills me with joy. It allows me my outlet to be creative and releases stress and a reset to complete my day. When I do get a day off, I always try to share my free time with my fellow scrapbookers, and it's a time for all of us to share our creativeness and to release any outside worries. We work together almost like a yoga class. We start off with a stretch or a setup of our workspace, and we breathe and move into creativity or poses and design a page. And when we are done, we breathe some more over our creations, a sigh of relief. Namaste. I just was so it still gives me goosebumps when I read this. Like, thank you so much, Laura, for allowing me to share this, first off, with my group, because I think it's super special. So in so many ways, this scrapbooking is not only supporting Laura in those basic ways, but it's also the thing I love about scrapbooking. And I used to be a scrapbooker, and it's not that I don't love it anymore. It's just that I'm in a different space, and my energy needs, how I can sit still, are very different. So scrapbooking allows you to reminisce as well. So that, and my kids, when they come home to visit, they almost every single time they come home, they pull out a scrapbook. They pull out the scrapbooks and they look through them and they love them so much. It's also a place for me to go, oh, where's that picture from when Sam or Emma was little, and I want to share it with them. It's their birthday, or I want to post it on Facebook or something like that. So hobbies are just endlessly amazing and beneficial. And I really just wanted to sort of talk about that today. And it was just sort of, I know it's a random thing, but it really got me thinking about the things we do for ourselves and the things we do regularly on a daily basis. And how can you make those hobbies like Laura, who ensures that she's touching her hobby every day? Right? So she's using that as a way to unwind and relax and really support herself. And another thing that hobbies support is your intuition. And a lot of us aren't paying enough attention to our intuition. So my new goal here is I'm going to be zeroing in on intuition, because I really think that once you start being able to tap into your intuition and lead a more intuitive life, you will feel more ease. You will feel less indecision. So I really am going to start focusing on that. And that's something I work with a lot with my clients, is really sort of honing on into themselves, who they are, and trying to tap into that intuition. So I really want to talk more about that. So you're going to hear me using intuition a lot more in the coming weeks and months, because this is like, it's like my new, all right, this is it. The world needs to tap into their intuition. All of us do. I promise you it will change everything about your day if you know that you are just being intuitively led and that you are in charge. It changes so much. So, the hobbies that really allow us to just intuitively know, and it's exercising the muscles. And one of the ways to start tapping into your intuition is to do a repetitive task like a crochet or a scrapbook or sewing or whatever it is, because most hobbies, it is a repetitive process. No matter what you're doing as a hobby, you are doing it over and over. So it allows you to start tapping in, to get so good at the muscle memory that you can then just feel into what feels good next. So this was just a great intuitive way to start my journey on talking about intuition with all of you. So thank you, Hollis, for popping on and saying hello. I love that so much. And I hope, I want all of you who have a fun hobby, post a picture, share with us what you do, just a little picture of it, and talk about maybe just a couple of feelings, how it makes you feel, what you love about it. And who knows, maybe some of you who don't have a hobby might get inspired to start something new, right? I'm excited because I'm always looking for new things to do. So I'm excited to see what you all do for your hobby. So please share with the group so you can inspire all of us to create yet another hobby for ourselves. And I hope you got something fun out of this. I hope you have an amazing evening and a wonderful weekend. And definitely show me your hobbies. Hobby on all. Have a great day.